If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything that you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on any listening platform like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many, many more. It's everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome to the Wartime Leadership Podcast, where we explore what spiritual resiliency looks like from different perspectives. We often focus on the physical, emotional, and social areas of resiliency, but too often we neglect the spiritual pillar. Now, this looks different to everyone. We will be exploring what spiritual resiliency looks like in the lives of our guests, who are people from all different walks of life. Today's episode is sponsored by Success Draft, where we help you transform your dreams into drafted plans. Head over to successdraft.com to get started on your future today. This episode's guest is really, really special. She is an author of some amazing poetry. Drea Conn is currently actually in an undisclosed location somewhere in the world. She's actually deployed right now, which is really unique because she's able to speak to us from halfway across the world. She reached out to me via the website, thewartimeleadershippodcast.com, where she signed up to be a guest. And it was really good because it started a good relationship between us because she wants to tell her story. She knows the impact that she can have on somebody else's life with her poetry. Dre, how are you doing today?
I'm good. And it's Drea. Okay.
Drea.
Yes.
Got
yes.
it. The simplest letter in the alphabet, and I screw it up. Really?
It's, you know what? You're only human, and this interview is raw, and it's meant for us to be ourselves. But man, I appreciate us working together to make this happen, especially with the time zone difference and everything. But I set like 3 alarms to make sure I got up for this.
Hey, listen, folks, it is 5 o'clock in the morning where she is, and it is near midnight where I am. So you can just imagine that we're having, she's waking up, I'm going to bed. It's just kind of one of those, okay, where's this conversation going to go?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what?
In a good direction.
How about this? Let's try to warm up just a little bit. Okay. Let's do 5 simple questions right off the bat.
All right, let's do it.
All right. What is one hidden talent that you have?
Oh, hidden talent. Let's see. I
love it because this one always catches people off guard. I love this.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about talent, I'm like singing, dancing. Like, honestly, my poetry is my talent. Like, at this point, to be honest, granted, that's not hidden, but I do think I'm pretty dope at that.
I mean, it's your words. It's the power of the pen, right?
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't even start writing until like a year or two ago, and then that's where we are now. So I will always lean into that.
Good stuff. All right. So who is your favorite superhero?
Superhero, Wonder Woman.
All right. Well, now you got to give us a reason why.
Wonder Woman. My favorite movie is the one that they recently did with Gal Gadot, and every time I'm feeling like trash, like I watch that movie, and I don't know, she embodies like an level of empowerment that um, I see in myself, where, she comes from a different world, goes into a new world, and is so determined to make a difference in the world that she's willing to do any and everything for it. And that's kind of where I see myself.
Well, and I kind of see it where she's coming from a world of equals, where a lot of people are superheroes in their own rights, and so she has to stand out just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
all right.
Absolutely. Yep. She made an adult decision to leave home, and then I kind of mirrored that with my, I don't know, Air Force path, if you will, and so it works out.
Well, as a senior NCO in the Air Force, you kind of have to. And then even more so in finance, because, they take a brunt end. Y'all take a brunt end of the hit sometimes when people don't get paid or they get paid incorrectly.
And completely understandable. Okay. Mess with somebody's money is bound to feel some violent emotions right through. We got that. So it's definitely a hit. It's definitely a hit or miss situation for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you no matter what. So
That's what I'm saying. Nobody is working for free. That's what I do say. Nobody is here working for free at the end of the day.
All right, Drea.
So
what is one thing that you find?
Why are you like this, Nate?
What is one thing that you find repulsive?
Repulsive? I think it's the lack of accountability or ownership, and I mean, whether good or bad, I think that people should own when they make a mistake, or when they even not even a mistake, they make an error in judgment. I also think people should own when they succeed and do great things. But for some reason, we shy away, in my opinion, from those things. We don't want to be in the spotlight either way. And I just don't understand why we don't embrace part of what makes us human.
And actually one of the core values, excellence in all that we do, one of those subsets is product excellence. So that kind of ties in really, really well with that idea of owning that side of it.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. So what is, aside from Wonder Woman, the best movie of all time?
Oh my goodness. The best movie?
Oh yeah.
God,
these are the easy ones too.
Oh man, there's so many movies I've seen a million times over. But look, I hope nobody fights me for this. But I do think I think Lion King is the best movie of all time.
Okay. Walk that one out a little bit.
Listen, okay. Tell me if there's a movie you've ever seen where it can take you for this emotional ride, and honestly, without like low level threat, no cursing, none of that. But anybody and everybody on the planet, in my opinion, can probably reference this movie and know what people are referring to. On top of, I don't know, it's been maybe 15 or 20 years lived, and still, you know what I'm saying? It's still relevant. As a matter of fact, we were just playing it yesterday in the customer service lobby, just singing. You know what I mean?
Well, it probably puts those angry customers at ease. Just live it.
Well, yeah, we definitely have to.
Hakuna Matata.
Trust me,
what a wonderful phrase.
Exactly.
You can't get mad at somebody when you hear that.
And that's what that's the secret wink, wink of just like turning on the movie or TV and then just distracting them from the real reason.
Hey, smart move right there. Yes. The ideal customer service movie. Yes. Lion King.
Lion King, top dog. Yes.
All right, Andrea, I am giving you 2 plane tickets. One plane ticket is to somewhere that you've already been, and another plane ticket is to somewhere that you have never been before. Where are these 2 tickets to?
Oh, I already know. One is Australia, that's a place that I've been to before.
Okay, what city?
Sydney.
Okay.
The time was just the best. And I do the tours all over again. I do everything all over again.
Now, did you go down there for work or did you go down there for fun?
For fun. For fun.
Okay.
I wish I went down there for work. Shit.
I was stationed in Guam for 4.5 years and I never went to Australia. I'm still kicking myself for that one.
This shame on you, because that is a missed opportunity right there for sure. And I mean, to see a koala bear in real life, you always hear about that stuff, but that was probably the best part of the trip.
Did you fight a kangaroo?
Definitely didn't chance that. I mean, I'm 4'11", and that thing is minimum of a basketball player, at least 6 foot or 7 foot. So he might have just put me in his pouch and just took me home with his kid.
Now that would have been an experience right there.
That definitely, I'm like, you got internet in here? It definitely would have been a different living situation. But yeah, I definitely remember when that dude fought that kangaroo.
Now, where's somewhere that you haven't been that you would go?
New Zealand. New Zealand would be, and I'm a Hobbit fan and Lord of the Rings, and so I've always wanted to do that tour and see the little Hobbit house and everything, and so that has been. I'm still hopeful that I can keep that dream alive. So.
Well, I'm a rugby fan, and so I would love to go see the All Blacks play. I'd love to go see the All Blacks.
Oh goodness!
Now, why were you laughing at that? Is it because I don't look like a rugby fan? Like
I laugh because rugby is hard to follow, and all you see is dirt flying. Like, like I think I watched with a friend. Like we were trying to break down what was happening, and it was a lot. So
yeah, eventually you just start making up your own rules. So
yeah, those dudes are resilient for real. Because I think they practically look like they might have tore something and just put tape on it and got back up and just kept playing. So Lord help them.
No doubt. Hey, speaking of resiliency, why don't we go ahead and get into your background a little bit? Just kind of take us from, where you're from, where you're at now, and kind of what has brought you up to this point in your life.
Yeah. So I'm Drea, and I'm basically been in the military for about 19 years as of last week. Been in finance my whole career for the most part, and coming from Cleveland, Ohio originally, had some family upbringings of different things that really kind of drove me to go out on my own and be independent. And join the military, which, by the way, was my first plane ride I'd ever had in my entire life. At that point, first time, and it's just been a ride since then. Probably over easily 11 to 12 assignments, handful of TDYs, a lot of overseas time, a lot of stateside time. On my second deployment now, they got me on as I'm older and crustier now.
I prefer wiser.
You know what? Seasoned, wiser. I prefer that too. And it's just, man, have I been tested in I don't know how many different ways.
Yeah, I get that. Where are you currently stationed at? Like, where's your permanent station?
Shepherd Air Force Base.
Oh, good golly, Texas!
I'm dead.
The armpit of Texas, no doubt.
God, no.
Now I say that with love because my kiddo, her and her husband met there. So, they're both air traffic controllers. And of course, Shepherd's a huge one for that. But, oh man, bless you.
Yeah, it's a lot. And, when you're in a deployed environment, it tends to look similar to that environment with no tumbleweeds, but definitely a lot of dirt.
Definitely a lot of dirt.
Yeah,
Well, hey,
definitely.
how has your leadership style developed? Like how's it changed as you've gone from that younger airman, just entry level, to first time supervisor up through now as a senior NCO?
Oh goodness. I definitely wow, it's almost like it's done a 180 because and it's funny, my airmen will probably laugh at me now because they only know me as the master sergeant, versus and full and true story. I supervised later in life. Like I didn't supervise until I was a master sergeant. Like before that, I'd always been in like one deep gigs. But even leadership style was originally, it started with like the people pleasing aspect. To now it's kind of working on finding my identity and holding my ground, like and being more of the innovative type of leader, like not doing things the same way, um, and leaning into me being the older seasoned leader of the crew, which means I feel that my role as a CNCO is teaching and mentoring and giving back time and attention to those below me, because as they say, we all can be replaced. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, this is the opportunity where I feel confident enough to be able to say, look, been there, been there, done that. We can talk about it. We can work through it. That sort of thing.
Now, you said that you had done a lot of one deep type of jobs.
Yes. Right.
How's that leadership style that you had to take during those moments different than what it is to actually lead human bodies?
Well, I know, right? One deep is like, it's a gift. It's the gift and the curse, because you, people like it's cake. You can pretty much, manage your own job, and if the job don't get done, it's only one person to blame, right? You didn't do
Mm-hmm.
that job. But at the same time, you just the human factor, and you're trying to find opportunities to lead outside of that, because you need it. And I think that uh, it wasn't an it was I did more things outside of the organization to try to develop my leadership, but the reality is like it's nothing like people to build you and then to like really help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And they will test you every single time.
oh yeah. Yes.
They're going to test that
Yes.
theory of, listen, I can handle anything that you bring to me.
Right. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Like my door is always open is like, okay, it never closes. It's just take the door off and you guys will just keep coming in and out.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, now I knowing from that experience what I did want, I thought about that and used that as a means to say like, okay, well, I know what it's like to not have airmen. Now what it's like to have airmen, and kind of hybrid those two things together to be what you see.
Well, and it's good too because you can always rely back on your experiences within a one deep to be able to build a
Oh yeah,
team, because being one deep is not always fun.
that's also a true statement, right? And that's why it was like, I've always talked about being the late bloomer, because a lot of my peers would be like, look, I was a senior airman in ALS. I supervised 15 people, and I'm just sitting there like, look, I tried to mentor, the two airmen in my organization, but it's just something about them knowing that they're your supervisor
Mm-hmm.
that gives them that trust level of trust with you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like getting the title flight chief, whatever. Like it's just somehow where it's just like, okay, I know she got me. That sort of thing.
And I think that the title does have a lot to do with it, but I also think that that
Yeah.
can be manipulated for different people as well.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I've dealt with that.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. Like positional power and abuse of that power is very real. And so for me, it's like, okay, you see visually, I will try my best to treat them like they're human and adults. And they probably get tired of me saying, well, you're adults and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? But it's just purely like, let's be human first before we throw this reg thing into it.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Let's be human first and then bring in the regulation. I like that.
Yep, yep,
That's a
pretty
good
much.
style, actually.
Yeah.
So how would you define spiritual resilience? Like, what does it mean to you?
Oh goodness, spiritual resilience is. I think that I didn't really understand it at first because I tied it to religion a lot for the most part, and I'm not a religious person. Like, yeah, it didn't make clarity to me until it was like just about like your soul and your just just your person inside and out. Like that's the way I define it. Like your person inside and out, and like constantly being trying to find strength and overcoming different things that really just get to you internally. Like I do think, I just think just like your spirit itself is something that you need to nurture. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it's not just like we talk about mind and body, but I think your spirit, as far as like the core of what makes you who you are, is something that sometimes we tend to not do anything with.
Yeah, and you've
So
heard me talk about this before. Like in the
yeah,
military, we tell you the four pillars, right? The CAF,
yeah,
the physical, emotional, social, and spiritual. And for those other three, like we know those are clearly defined. The spiritual
right,
is not clearly defined, and that's kind of what
right,
started this whole conversation with people was how do you define it? Because
right,
everybody defines it differently.
right,
So
definitely,
so
definitely.
can you give us a moment when you had to rely on that spiritual pillar when that's really one of those things that you had to lean on heavy?
I definitely think I leaned in heavy when I found out that I could not bear children. And so that was as a woman, your identity tends to become an adult, at least being an adult, like your identity tends to be linked with bearing children and being able to reproduce. And so when that situation happened, um, it broke me because I just felt like I was less of a person or less, I could not have the effect in this world that, say, any other woman can have by being able to bear children and therefore like populate the earth, right? Um, but I think at the end of the day, number one, it was more common than I realized. Two, it was literally like a life or death situation. Had
Mhm.
to, the doctor said there was, had you chose another option, you would not be sitting here right
Mm.
now. And so to constantly remind myself that, the choice had to be pretty much was made for you. And this is where you're at. And so to me, it just took me to a place of where I was just like, okay, what do I do now? I am like, let's say this was 2012, so I'm 37 now. So that was like almost over 10 or 11 years ago. So I was 26 years old when this happened. And obviously, it's more than the prime of your adulthood, or at
Mm-hmm.
least in the point where, quote unquote, you're trying to establish yourself. And so that was pretty painful for me. But I think on the other side of it, and my airmen will tell you this, they've become like my children.
Mm-hmm.
There's some bad children sometimes, but geez, there's some children, But I've just inherited the motherly instinct in other ways versus just with the physical aspect of it, if
Yeah,
that makes
and
sense.
my wife and I went through something very similar with our family. Very,
Okay.
very similar. And
Right.
you find ways to compensate. You find ways to find and fill that void sometimes in other ways.
Yep,
And in your case, you said a year and a half ago you started writing poetry,
that's correct.
and now you have a book, and it is
Hmm.
titled.
Seeds of a Sunflower, Poems of Growth. Yes.
See, that is just,
And so,
where
yep,
did the title come from?
it was my favorite type. My favorite flower is the sunflower, and I just admire it the most because of its ability to stand, to be such a tall and significant um, thing or a plant, to where I don't know, people come to see it, like from they live for those seasons, and the amount of time it takes for it to grow is, it takes time. It takes nurture. I've literally grown a sunflower myself, like just to see the process, and it just to watch it establish itself has is probably the most amazing thing I've seen in a while. And so when I think about my time here on earth, or even just like recently within the past, I don't know, my military career, that's how I think of myself. And it's just being that seed planted, and then just things have happened, and I reached the point where, like, I'm still standing tall here.
You know, every day that I drive to work, after I read the title of the book, it's really kind of funny because now I see sunflowers where I go. And
You're so lucky.
there's this one road driving down towards that comes to the backside of Joint Base Charleston. And there are these
Uh-huh.
sunflowers that are like 7, 8 foot tall, like huge sunflowers. And they got these heads on them. They're just,
Right.
probably a good
Mm.
foot and a half wide. And so
Right.
after reading the title of the book and then I'm driving down and I see those, it automatically made me reflect to you and our time for when we were going to be talking.
Yep. Yep. It's funny how the universe works.
And you have a way of putting together words to describe things that you've been through. And I
Mm.
asked you before to pick out your favorite poem, or probably the one that has the most impact for you, and read it for us. So I would
Mm.
love it if you took that opportunity now to read it for us.
Oh. Oh. I am not even opposed to that, and so just bear with me a second, because I go to my phone is like everything, with everything, all my stuff on it. But I'm definitely, when we talked about what tested my spiritual resilience, it was about not being able to have children. And so I actually made a poem about that experience. And so that is what I'm going to read to you for y'all today. And it's called My Future Born Unborn Child.
Mm.
Okay, so
By
just a second.
Drea Conn.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That is me. And honestly, it, it I wrote it, and every time I read it, it gives me, it makes me feel like I live those feelings all over again. So, but that is part of the healing process, as my therapist has told me. So,
Absolutely.
okay, so y'all ready? Okay, awesome. My future born unborn child. Your life is going to be altered in ways you never experienced. The love I have for you is endless. Signs of affection may seem countless. I've been waiting all my life for you. The smile, the attention, the warmth and concern, worries protected by me. This home I have for you will be the best you've ever seen. I may not shower you with gifts, but mentally and spiritually to help you grow, my future born, unborn child. Do you know that I loved you before I knew you? That your life before is not the life I had planned for you? The hurt and pain you are currently experiencing will be healed by my protection. Affection, reflecting on my pain, keeps me more protective of your well being. I may not have birthed you, my future born unborn child, but as if I birthed you, you are my son or my daughter. Your space to be safe is in my place where only love is allowed to grow, to know you are loved, to show what you are made of. Whatever you want to be, it is so. And no one can stop that journey but us. My future born unborn child, you are the sparkle in my eyes, the feeling in my soul that makes me rise. Happier than the sunrise every morning, you bring me joy. I can't wait to see you, love you, care for you, be there for you, and share my life with you. My story made to teach you how powerful you are, my shining star. No one can dim the skies of your bright sunshine. Till we meet soon, my future born, unborn child.
Wow. Just you you can hear those ideas of what it is to be a mother. You can hear those ideas of what it is to love a child unconditionally without regret, without, and you can hear the desire, right?
Absolutely. And I wrote that in the midst of, like, I've talked about adoption too. So, that's something that is definitely could be in my future also. But yeah, I mean, this book was like about healing, a healing process. You start with the seed of being in the planet, like you where you planted, and then eventually you grow into a big sunflower, and you're flourishing, and you're learning, and you're happier, but you still have all this growth you experienced to reflect on and be able to say, yeah, I've been there, I've done that. So that's basically what this book is.
Well, it sounds like you have some good experiences that you've been able to share with your airmen as well, because while they become our children, there is that fine line that you never cross with them, just simply because you want them to bring it to you.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And that's where my leadership style comes into play, of just treating them like a human, being a human first, and then rank comes into play. And so, it's me being the open book that creates the conversation, in my opinion.
Yeah, I tell my airmen, I say my airmen, they're the ones that come through Airman Leadership School. I tell them at the very beginning of that 5 weeks, I can't tell you how to care, but I can show you.
Yep. Facts.
And over that course of that 5 weeks, that's when I really get to develop and undo what a lot of bad supervisors have done.
True story. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, man, it's just amazing what those experiences can do. And I also think when I was in the 1D position, I didn't get to understand the experience of what your voice and what your influence can do for people, because there wasn't somebody I could see in front of me and say that, hey, look, Sergeant Conn told me X. Sergeant Conn did this, that, this, and that. Versus now it's like, okay, now I understand.
Yeah, no kidding. So how do you build spiritual resiliency within your team?
It is definitely, I'm gonna go back to the being human factor. I just do more conversations relatable, and when they experience things that may put them in those positions, we do we reflect. Like, we're in moment after moment, I'm having the conversation with them, like, okay, what'd you learn? What'd you learn? What's going on? And they just look at me like, what do we have to go through this? And I'm just like, I'm trying to explain that, this is the moments where you pause and realize what's going on, like where you are in your life. Because I didn't reflect on those things until like 10, 15 years later. You know what I mean? And I feel like reflecting on them immediately helps to establish habits or decision making abilities that just make you a better leader at the end of the day.
Well, and I think that it's when we don't use our experiences to help people that they fail the intent, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Because nobody nobody should go through things and it be kept a secret, because we don't we don't learn history without sharing the experience. We don't learn how to speak without somebody else speaking first. Like, it just is setting an example in order for, the process to continue, for the influence to continue 10 or 15 times over, even after we're out and retired, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so. I wish that people would use more experiences and be as open with it, right? Be that humble leader to share that experience. Like, we don't go through stuff ourselves just for ourselves.
Never. Oh, definitely. And I think, if anything, it made me go back to my previous supervisors, the ones that were the hardest on me, and saying, look, I get it now, I get it now. And you really weren't just, ruffling my feathers for no reason. Like, you understood. So, that's kind of the hope that I have for people that I lead.
Well, it's kind of like with the idea of going to your supervisor and saying, hey, I know what you're talking about now. I do the same thing with my parents.
Right.
Like,
it's
okay,
like, this is wild.
I'm going to have to admit this real quick. You were right, and I am so sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's like, okay, coming to fruition type thing. But we definitely just being from like a different generational aspect. Like, now that the airmen want to know why, they want the whys and stuff like that, versus, we were kind of just like, hey, just do. And so I think that was another leadership aspect I had to learn too, was like, why do I need to answer these questions? What do you want from me? Like, versus information,
This generation, they ask why, but they're not questioning us. They're wondering, why are they doing
Yep. They
this?
just want to know. Yep. And it took me a while to kind of like flip that switch and be like, okay, it's not, nobody's undermining you. Like, this is me in the mirror. Nobody's undermining you, Sergeant Conn. Like, it's just it's just a conversation that they just want to understand. And so, realizing that, I'm more than willing to give them any information they want.
Now, Drea, here's what I'm wondering. What was it like to put those emotions onto paper? Because you said this has only been a year and a half, but yet you got this, what can be described as terrible news 10 years ago, and you just put them onto words a year and a half or so ago.
Right.
What was that process like for you?
Oh man, it was you relive all those events all over again. And I had been in therapy, and my therapist was just teaching me about different ways to be creative, to have your emotions out. And she would just like, you can do art, you can do this, you can do that. And I'm just like, I don't know how to draw. Like, I don't have any of those type of things. And then I just was journaling, and then I was like, this might become a thing. And I think I wrote one poem, and then I started recording on Instagram, and kind of getting a response from that. And then I went and did an open mic, and the response from people was, surprising to me. And so to pretty much, like, I guess, document an experience from over 10 years ago is like, it's very wow. Like, that's what happened. And yeah, I have emotions about it, but in a sense, it's me owning it. Like I said earlier, like, this is what makes me who I am. And so to be so raw and vulnerable is everything that I fear about just, I don't know, my experience, period. And so I did the opposite of what felt comfortable to me, which sometimes I'll be like, oh, I wrote a book. That's great. And I wrote a book about things that have happened to me. And now people know, or at least have an idea of, what I've been through.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay.
And that's a huge healing portion, right? Like that's taking that
Oh
first
yeah.
step out. And that's being, I mean, going and doing an open mic night, that's just vulnerable enough, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely, for sure. In front of strangers, like nobody I know. This is me going on the internet and saying, let me find something to really talk to people. And then, did that more than once, by the way. And, just kept writing. And it was just like, okay, I can bare my soul in somewhat way. And, once you've been exposed to a certain audience, or, people that like this type of art and creativity, it's more receptive than, say, someone who may not, understand what it is. So it was great. It's been great.
Well, you definitely have a way of forming word pictures. I say word pictures, but it's more like emotional pictures,
Yeah,
because we can frame it differently. The picture's going to look the same, but
right.
it's how we frame our situation that truly makes it beautiful to us. And
Definitely.
all you can do is put the picture out there for somebody else to be able to see and hear, to put their own frame around it and to write their own story. So I think you've actually empowered a lot more people by doing that.
And that's basically, like, to sum it up, like that's my intent, like influence, the power of influence. Like, people don't realize what that is and what you can do with that. And to me, it's like, first I didn't even think about writing a book, and then I'm like, well, I have some time out here and I've been writing for a while. Let me just put this together. And I released it. I think it was April 26th. It's been over like a month and a half, almost 2 months, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, there's my experience on paper.
Well,
And
we
so,
will have a link to it in the comment section below. And I kind of hate to do this to authors especially, but do you have any other books
uh,
that you would either A, recommend, or that you're reading right now?
well, I'll tell you, I'm reading right now. What is it? What won't get you here will get you there. Oh my goodness, such an eye-opening thing. And then, geez, I've honestly read so many books while I was out here. Like, so it's just like, it's not even that I haven't read. It's like that I've, like, really been putting a lot into my reading, for sure. Um, yeah, I'll just stop at that one, because honestly, my mentor loaned me that book, and when I read it, I just immediately, like, we have so many different leadership books we can read, but that's just something about just the way it's displayed and delivered, as far as doing that internal reflection with yourself and saying, like, it's time to do something different. That's
Yep.
basically what that book is. And, to read it and be like, I do that. Yep, I do that too. Yep, I gotta do something different. So that's basically what that book is
We'll
in
have a
my
link
opinion.
to that for the Amazon link. What got you here won't get you there. That's what it is,
Mhm.
right? What got you
Yes, sir.
here won't get you
Won't get you
there.
there.
That's
That's
right.
correct.
I had to think about it
Yep.
because I have it on my bookshelf, but that's downstairs. So I was like, oh no, I know this one. But we will have a link to it, to Amazon, in the description as well. Drea, do you have anything else that you would like to share with the listeners, or just take us to a conclusion?
No, I mean, I am grateful that you took the time out to allow me to have this space to be able to conversate about things that are important to me and about myself. And honestly, it's a reflecting point. Like, I was saying things and I was like, wow, I don't think I would have answered things like this. Say, I don't know, however many years ago. So if anything, it's, I've grown a lot, and I appreciate you for showing me that.
Oh, absolutely. We appreciate you being vulnerable to come here to allow me the honor of having you on to be able to share just a little piece of your heart, because I know that's not just a little piece, but rather that's a human-sized chunk that's in there. And I know that the future still holds bright for you. But Drea, Conn, everyone, we are so blessed to have her here today to be able to impart into us just a little bit more about the human spirit and what it looks like to be spiritually resilient. Today's episode is only possible thanks to my friend and producer G. Frazier with 369sounddesign.com. He is truly the one with the hardest job trying to make me sound good week after week after week, and especially after last week's episode. I know he had his work cut out on that one. So we are blessed by the entire team here at the Wartime Leadership Podcast. See you next time. Be blessed.